welcome back to another episode of BloxFam Breakthroughs. I'm Jessi, the founder and creative director of This Way to Fabulous. We are a creative branding agency really helping entrepreneurs like you get out of your own damn way and grow your brand. So today I'm here with my good old friend Andrew, fellow castmate of season 17 of TheBlox, and man, it's been a while since I've recorded one of these, so I always forget what my intro is. But we're gonna kind of dive in a little bit to our experience on the show, kind of what we were going through then, what we're going through now, and really kind of dive deeper into the breakthrough aspects and the changes and kind of where we're at today. So, Andrew, I'm so excited to see you. He's got his Jamie headband from Ted Lasso. He doesn't even watch Ted Lasso, you guys, but he's totally got a Jamie headband on. Okay, so Andrew, why don't you give the listeners just a little bit of a synopsis of who you are and what you do now? Well, let's say what you do now. It's fine. We'll get there.
So my name's Andrew.Hallam. I founded Tempo Lifestyle Solutions, and I'm a burnout coach. I help people recover from that kind of emotional burnout where you're just exhausted trying to keep up in this world, and especially in trying to be a professional, keep up with your job, family, home. It's a lot. It's demanding. So I help people take back their time, really establish their health again with sustainable habits, especially work habits and boundaries. But yeah, that's what I'm currently helping people with. And yeah, comes from a long history. What I did in TheBlox is not what I do now, but it inspired the first thoughts.
Yes. So I'm actually really excited for this discussion because I think Andrew is a fantastic case study of kind of calling his shot, putting his eggs in the basket, and just kind of going for it and figuring and just kind of letting it come instead of truly chasing what he thought he really needed, which I know we'll talk about because what he was doing and talking about on TheBlox was a little bit more of a story of I think I know what I'm doing, I think I know what I want, but TheBlox was a very big breakthrough for him, and I'm so excited. I actually got to talk to him after our time on TheBlox, and we talked a little bit about his brand and what he wanted to do. And I feel like he's had multiple breakthroughs. So I'm super excited to kind of talk about this a little bit. Why don't you we'll kind of dive into the evolution, I think, in a little bit, because I think that has a little bit longer of a story. But I love what you're doing now. I freaking love it. And I know that if there's literally anybody watching this video that has never experienced burnout, I would like to know how. This literally applies to everyone. And Andrew also recently got married, so he is, really dove into this whole home life. He's not wearing his wedding ring. He's freaking out looking around because his wedding ring is not on.
It's beautifully on the happily ever after plate that it sleeps on when I go to bed.
Oh my God. You are so fancy. Okay. So, do you think that this is a random question, I guess, but do you think that getting married, you got married right before TheBlox, right?
Yeah. Just about a month. So I got married June 22nd. We filmed the end of July. So it was just I came back from Michigan and I was I had a few weeks at my job and I was like, I'm going on this show. Let's go.
Holy shit. Do you feel like the fact that you got married right before TheBlox, do you think that had any part of your, transition and your breakthrough of just kind of now you are, you have that home life, you have, you maybe have more to juggle at that point. Do you feel like that kind of maybe affected your momentum? Not in a bad way, just do you think that kind of helped you build a little that momentum of trying to figure out what was next?
Yeah, because I at the core of what is the end product of what I want to help people achieve is passion and purpose. And so what? What you can excel a lot of things in the world. What do you actually care about when you come home? And when I had originally started my business, this was before we got engaged. But it was, kind of this forever present. It was stress because I wasn't in control, but it was a goal, a value of mine that I knew I needed um, this part of my life because it would be the support, the joy, the life experiences. I kind of view it as uh, if you're looking at life like a book, you want to have new chapters along life.
Yeah.
As the person I was connecting with, building this relationship with, that was going to be with me for the most, literally the most amount of time ever in the world. So um, knowing that forever like bond with the person who I want, literally will have the most time with, like that was my most important relationship. So getting married was wonderful, but it was also very uh, all along the way. I was looking at life like, okay, I gotta get my shit together to actually show up. Uh, my part of the relationship, not just like I don't know, pull on each other, but actually support each other as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, and I feel like when you're looking at it from the um from that book standpoint, you went through two chapters right there real fast.
Yeah.
You're I kind of feel like you got married so close to the blocks that those chapters are
Mhm.
kind of fighting. those, those chapters are kind of like
Yeah.
your wedding maybe didn't get a long enough chapter.
Mhm.
But I think that what you're doing now, like that chapter might not have been really long, but what you're doing now and what you've transitioned into that next
Mhm.
chapter of marriage and family and home and all those things is going to just be so crystal clear.
Mhm.
So okay, so let's kind of dive in a little bit to like the experience aspect of the blocks. Normally I do this a little bit differently, but because you're doing now so differently than you were when you were on the show, I think we should do this first. So
Mhm.
let's talk a little bit about the blocks. So when how did you feel about like the casting process? Do you feel like it was slow, fast, easy, hard? Like what kind of thoughts did you have during the casting process? Or do you
I
remember like the moment you like signed up?
I yeah, I remember that moment, and I remember kind of the very beginning when I first got a response back, and I was like, "Whoa." But the when I actually said yes, it was kind of like, "Okay, here we go."
I
I
don't
was
know what I just said yes to, but
Yeah.
okay.
And I had been doing my business for about maybe not even like a year and a half at this point. So I was kind of looking at the experience in a way that, you know, the way I ensure my value is like if I come out of this with, um, just clear understanding of the entrepreneur concepts of how do you start a business on your own without, what did Wes say? The billionaire trust fund. I don't know. I'm not a trust fund kid. I'm fairly privileged, but don't have a billion bucks in the bank. Um, so saying yes, I was kind of like, I need to get, like several $1,000s worth of value out of it. So I was kind of like, I got to do this. I'm shaking now thinking of it because I'm just feeling that nerves that was like, I need to get the most out of this week. And I was like, I'm just gonna shut off work. I'm gonna go here. I'll call my wife each night. That's still easy, but I was like, I don't know. I was committed by that point. I was so committed.
And it was such a like feeling. I can't really describe it either, but it was this feeling of like you knew you needed to show up and you knew you needed to get what you needed to get out of this, but you didn't really know what that
Mhm.
was. you
No.
you kind of blindly, like, right? Like we were blindly flying towards something that we had no idea what we were going to get out of it, but we knew that we needed to get something out of it and we had to show up
Mhm.
for it. So like I mean, showing up is the first part, right? Showing up and saying yes and taking a chance, that's a big part. For the viewers though, will you give us a little backstory about what the company was that you came to the blocks with?
Yeah. So I'd call it graphic design. And I was selling graphic hoodies that kind of poked fun at the Microsoft Teams statuses. Oh yeah, I do have one. Um,
I was like, yeah, I know you were prepared. Come on.
my camera's not mirrored, but
Oh,
it's
come
just
on,
the
Andrew.
away. status, and it's kind of making fun of like you'd be sitting here working from home, and everyone knows the mouse wiggling joke, and buying, I don't know how many people have had stories getting fired for plugging in a mouse wiggler, but um, the whole point of it was the day job was so serious. I wanted to break free and do something that just wasn't so gosh darn serious. Um, but also that I kind of cared about. So it was kind of fun and humorous, and but yeah, just tried to make light of something that I think people get stressed out about.
Yes. So what I gathered from this at TheBlox, and
Mhm.
me and Andrew actually, well, how many pods did we have together? Was it only
Oh,
Amber's
wow.
or was it
Or
more? I feel like we had at least two. I can't remember now, but so
I said a
long
lot,
story
but
short,
we
I know,
probably
like
talked
that
a
was a
lot.
year ago, man. I don't remember. Um, the one that stands out to me the most, we talked a lot during the show, but the
Mhm.
one that stands out to me the most is the last day, which was the branding day. And it was really when we started to talk a little bit deeper about the stories and all these things. And Andrew says all these things, but everything that I'm hearing, like he's saying that, yeah, you gotta like poke fun at this, like, it doesn't have to be so serious. Like what I'm hearing is mindset shifts. What I'm hearing is think differently, think creatively, step outside the box, and that was something that we talked about after the show,
Mhm.
when we kind of really tried to flesh out what he was trying to do here. But I think it's really important that we recognize all of those steps, because that step for you might have at that point felt like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm just gonna like make light, like make fun, make lighthearted of this, but like really that was something telling you that you were
Mhm.
in a direction of like mindset shift and bringing other people along with you. So like I love that. When you decided to do that, what was the idea behind it? Like what was the, not saying that you necessarily like fully built a mission and a vision and all that thing, but like what was the main thing that you were hoping for with that?
Yeah. I think there was one really fun, like, pitch that I had come up with while I was there, because I wasn't sure yet of any name or anything. I didn't go bold, change the business name while I was there, but, um, I said, "Hi, my name's Andrew.Hallam," the same old line. "I founded Hallam Creations, the only business that sells time." And that I had to develop that mission since then to what I'm actually going to help people with. But what I had, realized was I was so constricted by a mindset and conditions, environment, some, just social connection to community, uh, that this burnout and this struggle with ultimately existential purpose, the entire picture, it led me to just wanting to spend a little bit more time relaxing, a little bit more time, uh, enjoy a TV show, not be thinking, okay, when this ends, I gotta clean the dishes, get over
Mm.
here, get my clothes ready for tomorrow. I don't know. Point being, getting onto chores and boring and work. Um, but that was it. It was like if I'm struggling as just a engaged man planning a wedding, trying to picture life, with my wife, why is it so damn hard? I want more time. And that was how, I would also have like the experiences, the chapters of life. My wife and I both want to have kids in a few years. And it's like, okay, I need more time if I'm struggling now. But yeah.
Yes. And as a branding expert, a lot of people realize that their clients, like your best client is who you once were, because you fully know and can grasp and can put into words or feelings what that's like, and truly figure out how to solve that problem. And so I think that what you're saying is like the perfect storm, because once you realize that you kind of figure out what you want, you're not the only one in that position.
Mhm.
And that
Absolutely.
is huge of what you're doing now. Like I love watching all of your social media. I think all of your social media stuff is so great. And I'm so proud of that. So something else that was really funny, I can't you gotta tell the story behind the photo of a watch thing, because I know that came
Oh,
up a couple times
I
while
gotta
we
bring
were
that back.
there.
Yeah.
He would take a picture of the watch, of like his wrist, tell the story. I don't remember the full story.
Yeah, I was inspired a little bit by the afternoon slump that
That's right.
everybody
The 2
is
o'clock,
going
the
through.
2 o'clocker, was that it?
Yeah, two
Yeah,
thirty, and
2:30.
that's also a little ode to a um, old idol of mine, but um, gosh, the point being like we all get this afternoon slump, and why is it? And it's I've got a lot of beliefs that we really aren't meant for 8 9 hour work days. We don't take our lunch breaks as is. Like there's not enough breaks for proper sustainable work. But point being, pretty much everyone's having this afternoon slump. We don't really do anything about it, and that like kind of pretty reliably by 2:30, I'd say 75% of every business is probably like kind of I don't know, nowhere near as effective.
Staring at the
So
screen. Like,
yeah,
literally just kind of wiggling their mouse and staring at the
yeah,
screen.
I'd say 99% of people probably would have more value in taking a 15 to 30-minute break after that than working an extra hour being distracted, kind of wasting your time
Yeah.
by working since we don't properly take our breaks. Um, and gosh, 2:30, that's an ode, gosh, to just the old pun, what time do you go to the doctor? And that was something that my old calc teacher always made a joke about growing up, so pretty near and dear to me. And I think everyone's come 2:30, they probably need a good nap. I know I do.
I was gonna say that's about the time I'm like, do I go to the couch or do I
Hmm.
stay at my desk?
Yeah.
Now I go outside and take a walk when it's warm enough. But
Ooh,
yeah, that's my new 2:30 jam. Is like when
it's
I feel
nice
like I'm
here.
staring at the screen, I say I'm gonna go get the mail, but then I
Hmm.
go outside and it's nice enough that I'm like, that feels
Yeah.
good. Let's go for a walk.
Sunlight and movement. We don't get those as office people or remote
1000%.
workers. You gotta be intentional.
Yes, yes, so intentional. Like, oh, that's probably one of the hardest things.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so I would like for you. Well, let's start maybe more on a lighter note before I get too deep.
Mhm.
Do you have any like funny or just kind of like funny or weird moments that you remember from your time on the blocks? Which I know is hard now because it felt like so long ago.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
I hope no one's remembered this one, but now I'm remembering uh Evan and a nice little comedy performance at the
Yes,
end. That was
yes.
beautiful. Bringing in the Disney singing. It was surprisingly PG.
Yeah, yeah.
For such a wonderfully expressive man, that was impressively PG.
Yes. I, like, literally thought he was Wes's cousin or something. Like,
Yeah,
he looked just
he's
like
got the
Wes.
instincts.
Like, we kept saying, like, "Is Wes's brother here? Like, does he have a
Mhm.
brother? Does he have a cousin?" Like
It's a way the beard like almost doesn't move when they talk too. Is that
something with his hat too, just, like, not that I ever really see Wes wearing a hat, but, like, I don't know. It was something, and, we all thought that he was, like, Wes's cousin or something.
Mhm. Could be, could be. A lot of that
Oh my
instinct.
god. I love that. Okay, so let's dive into the juice a little bit more. So, obviously, you have a little bit different of a scenario than some of us who, actually, I mean,
Mhm.
probably half of the people that were there made a pivot or evolution of some sort. I mean, that was kind of the point. But
Oh, yeah.
um while you were there, what do you think was like the most challenging part of that week? It can be business related or just like that it was hard to be away from your wife. Like what was the hardest part about that entire experience for you?
Ooh, yeah. Constant breakthroughs. I think I don't know. Maybe it's just like a false narrative that like people with much more experience didn't like go through as much intensity. But I have a very fresh perspective of my year and a half of kind of figuring out my own thing. Not like yeah, it was a business, but it's very much so amateur learning points. Um, so I felt like that week was just like getting hit by a train.
Every
'Cause
day, over and over.
over and over. And went through a literal voice transformation from day one. Holy cow, I could not speak. And yeah, I got some ideas out there, but I realized like I don't know how to answer these any of these things correctly. But the week kind of progresses, and each day it becomes just a little bit more comfortable. You have more realizations, and I think I almost cracked on like the trying to remember when we I think it was around midweek, somewhere right in the middle. I think it was like of the fourth day or so. I was just like, I'm burnt. I'm like, I can't do this. I, you know, uh, I had a little bit of a questioning moment, but I was like, all right, we're going to sleep. We'll wake up. You spent the money. You're here. You're going to give it everything you got. Um, and like the energy did come back, but surprisingly, it was like that was when I noticed that through each day in the journey, I was just becoming a little bit more powerful with my words and confident in understanding what we were being asked to go through with the exercises
Yep.
and what that looked like in a business. Because each day I was putting together parts of how the hell am I doing this thing? Um, and honestly, the order of days, starting with like your systems all the way through your brand at the end, really helped me to build it from the bottom up. And that's how on day 5 I can come out slinging like this, time salesman business, whatever, but really communicating that bigger urge to help people go through the same major emotional transformation that I did, that I just
Mhm.
felt so much more empowered in life with.
Yes. And do you feel like from if you were to compare, the different parts of filming, between the lessons every day and, the pitches we had to create,
Mhm.
and the consultations, which parts which parts of that do you feel like I know this isn't like not fair because it was all very helpful, but like which part of that do you feel like was the most helpful for you in the breakthrough? Like was it like the learning
Mm.
the part or like being in the room, hearing everyone's pitches and everyone's consultations?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, each bit of it, is really helpful in that rounded experience. I think personally, just brain structure and learning, I think what my a core like concept is that like we all learn specifically by our own methods. And when you literally translate that to learning, to me that's like the exercises, right? So love the presentations. It's like a good first surface level. And then gosh darn, I get so much done when I actually like go through the exercise for the business, drafting the um, complete marketing funnel and like structure of what is the actual transformation I want to give people. Uh, but I think that came from the exercises for the most part, because that's where I'm screwing it up. I'm making my own mistakes. I'm learning my own literal methods of learning entrepreneurship. And yeah, of course, it's great to now hear the other perspectives, the other business styles, the other industries. You may not think of other bits to add to it, but yeah, I come back to everyone can learn their own way. You may learn differently other ways, but everyone can learn their own exercise.
Yeah, for sure. Because really, you kind of have to be able to put yourself in that position to see what your body does, to see what your mind does,
Mhm.
to see what comes out, and like that's what we learn from. I think the blocks gave me a newfound understanding of my obsession with just perspective.
Mhm.
I very much enjoyed the the hearing the pitches and the consultations of everyone
Mhm.
else. And I really feel like that like unlocked something in me to realize how much I think outside of the box, how much I creatively think and how open I am to
Mm.
another way of thinking, another way of trying something.
Yeah.
I loved every minute of hearing everyone else's. I was scared shitless for my own, but like I loved hearing everyone else's. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I think that's really great. Do you feel like I was gonna ask this later, but I'm just gonna ask it now because I'll forget.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your experience would have been completely different if you were there for your current company?
I I feel potentially if I could get to like uh, a at a different stage. So I think right now I'm very task heavy in kind of putting together my foundation.
Yeah,
So to put in blocks terms, right now I know that I'm verifying my idea and execution and methods to really take someone from burnout to tempo lifestyle, enjoying waking up every day and being excited. I'm really verifying the idea of how I execute that. So I know that before I change and scale or things like that, I know the current um, methods I'm using to test my idea. So I need to hit a different stage, I think, before it would provide the most value for me to go through
sure.
again.
Yeah. Do you feel like your experience has helped you
Mhm.
feel more confident in building tempo?
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I think the going through it in July, holy cow, it's still not really been that long. Um, but going through that experience is how I have this vision all the way up to like before I'm gonna, really start to need some more people ahead of me's just experience in life to
Yeah.
help figure out what's the most valuable way to proceed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the knowledge from July has been so valuable. And I have a really clear plan to hit kind of like a next stage in my business where um, I know doing it again with a fresh perspective would just kind of provide even more value. So that's what I'd say.
Yeah, for sure. So thinking back to like the whole week and all the things we had to do, all the shit they put us through, all the food they fed us. What was your
Just
favorite
name it.
part? What was your favorite part about all of it?
Um, God, they're gonna love this answer, but every goddamn person there. I walked into the dinner, the night one dinner, and I could not have been more scared. I was going through the hallway. Uh, this is where I met a few people, but Maddie Kelman, the hot sauce, Homestead's hot sauce, met her there, and this was the first scary thing I did that week. I said, "Hey, I'm pretty nervous. I came alone. Like, can I like talk to you?" uh, so a very nervous and honest first experience, but by the end of it, it was just such a happy, wonderful, like, yeah, we worked hard during the day, but I was really happy at night just to hang out with such wonderful people there that I don't know. I felt community like no never before, which was also related to struggles I had in my job where I just didn't want the future of my job.
Yeah. I think the community aspect of the blocks woke up things for a lot of us of recognizing what we're missing,
Mhm,
and kind of instilling in us this this extra energy or this extra focus towards finding that outside of
mhm,
that week. I mean, that has been nonstop mission is
mhm,
finding that or building it myself. You know, like I that everyone should be able to experience the feeling of that kind of a community, whether you work in an office or not. Like everybody should be able to feel that sense of community. And I feel like if
mhm,
nothing else, that was a huge takeaway of just like, I want nothing less than this.
mhm.
And again, that's a mindset shift, right? And I feel like
Yeah.
that's a lot of what we have to do when we make decisions and when we evolve and pivot and all of these things is like, It's so much more mindset than it is
Mhm.
anything else.
Yeah.
And I do really feel like everything that we did, and it's funny because as a serial entrepreneur, you know, I felt like the entire week I was like pinpointing all the things like, why are they doing this? Or like, whoa, the production crew's over there. Like I swear I was there to learn and I did learn a
You're
lot, but I was
observing.
so engulfed with like the
That's part of it, though.
process, everything
You're
about it.
observing an excellent business,
I, I,
operate.
yeah, and everything, even when I was there, it was like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, I know why they're doing that. Oh, yeah, that's like, whatever. But like hindsight is 2020, and there were so many things looking back that you're like, in that moment, I was like, what the fuck? And like today, I'm like, holy shit, that had so much meaning in its reasoning of why it was there, when it was there, all of those things. It was insane. And
Mhm.
and that, oh man, yeah, that was
Yeah.
I like picked apart the entire process of like, ooh, because those are client experience things. Those are all part of building your brand. And they've done a very good job of
Yeah.
building that experience in their brand.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I think it comes down to, like, communication and just to take something complex and communicate it simply to majority of people, most people you wanna communicate in your audience, you gotta understand it deep, and I think that's how they were successfully communicating, educating, and exercising. Yeah, did you have any, like, weird realizations? You're just like, "Huh, that's strange," and then you kinda figured out why that might be good to implement?
it's,
Did you
yeah, like
Yeah.
never ending. I mean, like that notebook is on my desk, has been since I got back, and it's just kind of been one of those like reminders, and even just kind of like, let me
I've
peek
got
into
mine
something.
over
I think I
there.
wrote something down in there that like, oh.
Mhm.
So it's been a really great reminder of just kind of like all the things. And to me, I feel like more than what the blocks is, like tangibly, like the education and the this and that. It was the experience. The experience
Yeah.
trumped any product or, piece of the entire thing. The experience as a whole was what they're selling, was what their brand is
Yeah.
the entire experience, all of the pieces in it, not a single aspect of any of it.
Mhm.
And
I
that's
forgot the
genius.
investment.
That's genius. And like the majority of people do not realize that,
Mhm.
because you're not all me, and you don't all like nitpicky pick things apart and be like, but why? So,
Yeah.
okay. So looking back, at that week, what do
Yes.
you feel like was the biggest breakthrough moment for you? Like when do you feel like you
Mhm.
like truly felt like, all right, I know where I'm going with this. I know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
What kind of like what was that major breakthrough for you in that experience?
It was the day after I felt my most beat and dead. Because all the way up until that point, I realized, this is actually kind of giving me a thought now. Something I've been thinking about lately is how every stage of growth, whatever the hell you're doing, I don't care what you're doing. If you want to get better in your own perspective, your own way, um, you're blind trusting your methods before they work every time until you sell your first, until you sell your first, you're not going to know what's going to sell your first until you sell your 10th, you know, you keep moving along in progressively in any sort of growth in any business, any journey, um, you were trusting. So point coming back to that week transition for me was I hit my end where yeah, I guess I'd been blind trusting for a while and we'd been intensely working on our business. And yeah, that's like it gets worse as you've not really seen the other side of the picture. What are
Yeah.
you working toward?
Yep.
Uh, so that next day, I'm trying to remember. Oh, I'm going to figure out because it's in my notebook. It
This
wasn't
is important
planned.
specifics, people. We got to get the notebook.
Niching. It was niching because the day before was capital, and what the fuck do I need? I'm a solopreneur. I'm not raising capital.
I think that was hard for a lot of people.
Right. Understood it, why we needed it. It was just an overall rough day for everyone. Maybe I felt everyone's emotions too. But we got into niching, and I finally started to see how do I take the massive room that is the internet and actually have like a community. So those were some really core concepts and how I see how to grow my now coaching business because it, yeah, I don't, that's something where like I could put brand myself as mindset, but what is that, right? If you're someone who wants to grow in mindset, you're on like the learning side of like trying to apply, someone like me who's had maybe a few years of this. I need to help people who are probably practicing mindset for 0 to 1 years kind of
Yep.
thing. Um, so niching was how I started to picture what was the experience I had where the mindset I've developed will help people to get out of, and actually have reach and actually communicate, learn deeply. I have a lot of conversations with people about what they're going through and whether or not they're working with me. I'm getting a really good picture of um, more of my specific experience in other people too. So,
Yeah, and that's kind of the moment when you realize that you don't have to be the best at something. You don't have to be the smartest person in the world. You don't have to be the expert. You
mhm,
just need to know that your clients are 2 steps behind you. You're
mhm,
only 2 steps farther than your target client. You don't have to be the person who knows it all, but you do know that's that phase. You do know that season
yes.
because you are 2 steps ahead. So
Mhm.
that's yeah, no, that's um
I got a good example. Onboarding.
yeah.
Who do they rely on when you need a new hire onboarded? The one who has 2 years or the one 10 years into the position who doesn't know anything about
Mhm.
onboarding, right?
Yeah.
It's the first you stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone's chapter 20, now you realize your chapter 5 helps chapter 1 get to 2, 3, 4, 5, you know?
Yes, yes, that's a great point, and a great thing to remember because truly everything is a process. Everything is a journey. It's never
Mhm.
really, like one thing. Um, do you feel like this kind of comes to mind? Well, actually, first question: did you have the idea of this coaching aspect before? It was just something that like you never really pursued, or did the idea for this coaching truly come out of this experience?
I'd say it was to be formed coming out of the experience.
Okay.
So, and that the how kind of came down to how am I actually gonna first sustainably provide for myself while I continue to grow impact?
Mhm.
Because there's a greater mission, right? At any stage, I can help someone. Uh, if I keep posting content that's free, right? If it helps someone, then it costs me nothing. That's fine. Content, helps me to reach more people as well, have more influence. So it's really easy to do a lot of that. Um, but when you have this state of starting any sort of business from the beginning, uh, one of the ways that you can have the most impact with people is getting really personal one-on-one time. I have something that's not scalable in my own labor, right? Some people would look at coaching as kind of hard to scale because how many people you're going to meet within a week and keep up with the rest of the business, right? The framework that stage wise I could look at was, I can fill my bandwidth with coaching clients and get really high impact, good testimonies, learn as much as I can about how I can best help them,
Mhm.
and from that generate the education, the courses, the maybe an app for people to track their habits and really gamify uh, establishing better health for yourself. So you see I'm getting to these other ideas from it, but the I saw the most value I could get was really personal one-on-one time, and I kind of had to find a way to make sure that in that experience I'm providing as much value as I can. So Um, yeah, getting personal one-on-one time, I think, gets me the best information in the long run, best impact, best I can accelerate through this smaller stage of my business where I am a new business owner. I am a newer coach. I haven't, I'm not some Rob Dial, the guy I'm going through his coaching program, but he's done this for uh, since 2018, and he's extremely successful now. But he's done it for 7 years, but he's done, I think, mindset for longer than that, like 10 to 15. So um, coming back to why coaching. Yeah, I just wanted to get in the most impact, the most personable, and I can tailor my solution too, right? When I get feedback like, yeah, like I struggled with, my sleep habits this last week, I can get in depth on why that was and help them make changes. Whereas, you sell a course without the knowledge, what's the value of the course? What do you know about the problems you're solving?
It lacks the relevancy for a lot of people because it may be more specific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can always make that better, but the way I was going to learn the fastest was very personable attention.
Yeah.
And, I'm not going to take on 40 clients a week. That's way too many. But I think the number in there might be like 15 or so at a time if I'm doing one-on-ones. And I do have some other ideas where I want to get into corporations and be a coach being hired
Ooh.
in to help teach burnout management in the workplace.
Mhm.
And it's also where I think a lot of people struggling may actually show up for themselves. Like if someone paid for their company to host me showing up, it's kind of like a free entry to, okay, maybe there's something else going on that I'm struggling with to maybe start addressing it.
Yes, yes, I love that, and, you know, Wes will disagree, but, like, everything is scalable to a certain degree.
Yeah.
There are creative ways to scale just about anything,
Mhm.
but I think, like, what you're saying too, and what I'm hearing is, like, recognizing that what scaling looks different in every season, right? Like,
Mhm.
scaling now might be scaling your knowledge, your
Mhm.
experience, your feedback, and then scaling in the next season might be adding more clients, building an app, all those
Mhm.
things. And just recognizing that scaling isn't a, like, black or white thing. It's not an all or nothing thing. It's a, like, pick one way to focus on scaling right now
Mhm.
and reassess, right? A
Yeah.
lot of us think of scaling. It's so much easier for everyone to think about scaling horizontally, right? Everybody's like, I need more clients, I need more money, I need, all these things. And I think one of the realizations that I've had between my time on the blocks and now is I don't want to scale horizontally anymore. I want to scale vertically. I want to serve
Mhm.
my clients deeper and have less clients than have like a million people chasing me around. Everybody needs this feeling of, and this is all like a personal breakthrough too in that time frame of realizing that, like, I was putting myself worth, like, I was measuring my self-worth based on how busy I was, based on how many
Mhm.
clients I was. Not
Yeah.
even not even the dollar amount, because that was like my past business life. Like that, I've been to the seven-figure thing. Like, I got there and was like, what now? Like, it's not this, like, destination. It's all about the journey and recognizing, like, what have I learned now
Mhm.
and what am I gonna do with that knowledge. And so what we've done is we've completely kind of evolved our model to, scale vertically instead of scaling horizontally.
Mhm.
I'm a mom. I have a house. Like, I am now at that stage where I do not have the bandwidth for this shit. I do not have
Mhm.
the brain cells for this shit. I want to, and you mentioned something earlier about, like, the impact, right?
Yeah.
The biggest aspect that's changed in my mission and my vision has been the impact level. I know that I can impact so much deeper and have a bigger ripple effect if I
Mhm.
focus on the depth that I'm serving my clients instead of focusing on how many people I'm touching. And holy shit, what a breakthrough with that. And I'm not
Mhm.
saying that's for everybody, but that is definitely kind of where we've come in. I am now at a season where I can compile all my chapters, right? I got a fucking encyclopedia over here of all the things that I've done. And it's like, but what do I do with all of this knowledge? I don't want to sell the book. Like, it's not really that exciting, but like, I want to sell the book. I want to sell collectively what I've taken from that knowledge and move into that. So I'm super excited about that change. But let's get back to you.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
I have a question for you, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but when you started this tempo,
Yes.
did we say goodbye to Hallam's creation? Was this a like evolution, or was this a complete left turn?
So I think you can debate however literally, but experience wise, I think I see what I was really craving the whole time in my entrepreneurship journey. So you kind of unravel piece by piece where
Thread by thread.
there-
If we're gonna be punny, we gotta be punny.
you're just flipping page by page. uh, Gosh, I was learning pieces of what the hell am I doing, right? You were never taught this, right? You had an 18 to 20, I don't know. You had a long time in school to learn how to be an employee. I love teachers. They're the most wonderful people trying to influence our world. The structure of school and our system is most effective at teaching you to show up 5 days a week, 8, 9 hours, go home, get the performance grade, and get a promotion to the next. So, with that oversimplification, what you are not getting a breadth of education on is how are you being an entrepreneur in your own life? How are you like literally working with your own time as a resource in your own life? And reel me back. Can you reel me back to the question?
I think with the original question is really just like what happened to Hallam Creations? Did it go away, or like are you continuing it to bring it with you, or did you kind of like say goodbye to it and replace it with the coaching?
I think the URL expires in a few days. So you could say it's expired, but I do very much see my evolution and mindset and lifestyle and just overall presence in my relationships. Like that was what was evolving throughout. So Hallam Creations isn't really it. I don't think I ever really wanted to stamp my name too much on the business.
Yeah.
To one day, let it pass on to whatever.
Yeah.
I don't intend to work. I do intend to kind of retire, but like with coaching, I can always just scale down if that's what I want to do later in life. So
And now you have the experience of merchandise that, down the coaching road, you could still
yeah.
do merch on the side. You could still do, those things that go along with it. It's just, it's not the business. It's the perk or the extra or the cherry on top.
Yeah.
Client gifts. Hello. Client
Yeah.
gifts. Dude, I'm still doing client gifts out of my closet full of blank apparel from the merch company that I closed. Like there's always ways to use your past experiences moving forward. So I was just curious about that because I feel like, before we started recording this, we were joking around about how we're not sure if our season's ever going to air. And, and he said something along the lines of like, God, it's going to be so awful. I'm not that person anymore. I'm not doing anything now that I was doing then. And my response was, that's perfect for you because you now have your literal transformation story documented. And you have your origin story, like literally on film. And so he's in a great position because now he's literally made himself a case study, which is just fantastic. But I don't remember exactly where I was going with that, but
No, it's true. But you said something that made me realize that, yeah, I've still got the literal merch that I designed before as part of like an extra. And I'm still using the same site and logo and time concept. The very first, clock, that wasn't really an act. The very first clock I drew in Adobe.
Yeah.
uh,
The beginnings mean something.
right. And like, kind of like, we talked about how like, don't go, the first thing you do in business, you don't go waste your time spending 10 hours on a logo. What are you doing? You'll figure it out later. Anywho, it's just really funny to me that the first flipping design didn't even become my logo yet, but it became my logo, at the end of this journey. Still, it's all about time, the most valuable
Yes.
part.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Okay, so as we start to kind of wind out,
Hmm.
what do you think that the biggest lesson you learned while you were there? And more than likely, I say this maybe because that's just how I was, but like more than likely, you didn't realize that this was the biggest lesson you learned while you were there. It was more of a, like
Mhm.
a hindsight thing. What do you think was the biggest lesson you learned from the
Mhm.
entire experience?
It obviously everyone here learned entrepreneurship, but I think if you can kind of take this one little simple thing, it would make a difference in how you approach life. And it was doing the thing you're scared of. And that shows up in a number of ways. But fear is just this anxiety, this chronic presence. And with ADHD, I think we just think so damn much that we ruminate, and it often happens no matter what. But
Mhm.
like public speaking, social media, things I do that aren't necessarily the impact of like changing someone through coaching. Um, but there's all these different things I do if you're going to be an entrepreneur that, I learned to shred fear, guilt, shame. Um, you can be aware of when fear is like, right? Like fear is like this emotion, this feeling, it's present, but it is always there when you're trying to push your boundaries, right? In any way. It could be small, it can be big. You can be like feeling a little weird about something, but you know, shredding the fear, the guilt, the shame, which comes from, I think, a lot of mindset work in uh, your inner voice, your inner
Mhm.
coach is what I've been calling it lately.
Yeah.
And that's how you learn to give yourself compassion, talk to yourself, pull down the barriers, and do things like get up on a stage in front of literally no one and shout your name, your business, what you do. And or also get up on the stage with literally everyone. Just two examples of, this is weird, right? This weirdo shouting on stage to no one. What's he doing? What's he learning? Um, but I was really developing a sense of just confidence in that I can do things I'm scared of.
Yes. I'm a huge fan of embracing fear for what it is, right?
Mhm,
Recognizing that fear is not as much this like thing that's holding us back. It's more of like a billboard. It's more of
mhm,
like a notification on your phone that's letting you know something, right? Because when you embrace fear, that's
mhm.
where your growth happens. That's where you learn. That's where you level up if you're a gamer,
Level up.
like that's where that's where change happens. That's where growth happens, and
Mhm.
that's why fear is so important to not run away from. I love that. And I think that, the way that the blocks is set up, um I don't know. I mean, there was probably maybe 20% of the people there. They were fine on stage. They weren't nervous. They were
There's
like
several
they
good
were
people.
born for this, right? And then the other 60, or no, I can't do math. The other 80% of us are out here like shitting our pants, like, oh my God, we are so scared. But the best part about that was that we were the majority. We were all
Yes.
scared.
Yeah, yeah.
And, moving through that fear and doing it anyway and
Mhm.
seeing what's on the other side of that fear was what we were there to do. That is
Yeah.
a huge part of what the entire Block's mission is, but they
Mhm.
don't say it, right? Like that is a huge aspect of it. And so I
When you're
love that you talked
embarrassed,
about fear. What?
so is everyone.
Yeah, like,
Yeah, right?
okay. Like that's okay. So is everyone
Yeah.
else, you know?
Yeah.
I loved that part.
Pushing through, "Why was I embarrassed about this?" It teaches you so much in
So
your own
much.
voice.
But you also have to be willing to learn the lesson, right? And I
Yeah.
think that for most people, and myself included, I think there were things that we learned instantaneously where we were like, "Woo, okay,
Mhm.
yeah." But the majority of the learning, I think, took up to 6 months for us to, like, ruminate in and, like, just kind of like, "What? But what? Oh,
Yeah.
oh," like, you have to be ready to learn the lesson. You can show up and you can hear it and you can experience what happens, but, like, you don't learn it until, like, you're
Mhm.
ready. So you really also kind of have to, like, embracing fear and shredding the fear is also about kind of, like, opening your mind to learning the lesson, because
Yeah.
jumping off the cliff, it might be scary, but, like, you better know what lesson you're trying to learn if you're about to jump off the cliff, like,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, that's very, important in what lesson you're trying to learn, which is what I think I've realized in my business stage, that, the lesson I'm trying to learn is the validation of the idea, which is why it's not worth my time to go off and dream of the, massive corporate impact, the, like, actually changing culture, like, how dream of how to do that when I can do that.
Yep.
Like, the stage I'm at, you have to take on the first challenge, the first
Mhm.
lesson in your relative growth journey, because I know how I talk about ADHD a lot because I think it's very given me a wonderful perspective of just keeping up in this world, but looking, with ADHD and the hyperactivity and looking forward in the world, you're imagining a whole lot of excess information that is not yet necessary. You're also using brain power to figure out a whole lot of unnecessary information that may change. So, not the big lofty goal of becoming your department's senior manager, senior director, whatever
Yeah.
you're actually doing. It's the, how do I get the next step? Because, well, yeah, my own example, I got promoted to the next level of engineer, and I said, I don't want the job after this. So my entire plan changes. If I have been devoting myself to a 5, 10 year career in corporate, of that planning part, right? You can still do that, but you're not planning 30 years from now. You're planning 1, 2, 3, 5 years, right? In
Yeah.
that order kind of thing.
Yeah. I actually love that you mentioned the ADHD thing, because I think that, like, you said it so well, that, like, we're boggled down processing so much unnecessary information, and it's like we're not
Mhm.
able to process this information, but we're also not able to
Mhm.
prioritize.
Yeah.
Like, we're like, our brains
Priority.
also, we have to train and force our brains to prioritize the information that needs to be processed now versus tomorrow versus next week or next month, or whatever. And that is part of the biggest battle, in my opinion,
Mhm.
is the prioritization of the information that's in the brain.
Mhm.
And truly being able to create a space of focus on the correct things, and being
Mm.
able to shut off all of the extra. I mean, like, this happens to me every night. I'm, like, doing the dishes, I'm getting ready for bed, I'm laying in bed, and I have the best goddamn ideas, but I'm so tired. I don't want to roll over and, like, voice memo it. And I'm like, and I tell myself, I'm like, man, that's a great idea. That's a fantastic podcast episode. That's a fantastic ebook. And then the next day, I'm like, oh yeah, I
What
have
was
no idea. It was really great though. It was really great, but
Mhm.
I can't remember anymore. Like,
Mhm.
the prioritization and the, like, being able to process enough to
Yeah.
post it for later, to like put it in a box. I want to come back to this. I want to remember this. The
Mhm.
prioritization of that, because there are things that I'm like, oh, this is a great idea. Let's do it. And then, like, a week later, I'm like, that's fucking stupid. Why did I think that was such a great idea? But the things that were, like, amazing ideas, I cannot remember
Yes.
for the life of me.
Uh-huh.
That aspect, I think, is a true testimony of burnout as well, because the prioritization gets even harder when you're in this burnout mode and you cannot
Mhm.
perform any habitual, like, okay, I'm feeling burnt out, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I need to write something, like, oh, that's a whole
Yeah.
nother topic, Andrew.
Mhm.
We need to get on my other podcast about that topic because
That was a
woo,
whole day
woo.
one. I think of systems, and when Wes says, "Yeah, this list can be hundreds of items long." Well, yeah, look at a list of 100, prioritize them. Look at a list of 5, prioritize them. It's a different picture, and the world is hundreds and hundreds of pages of thousands of there's a lot going on in the world. And yeah, that's our tendency to not really know how to prioritize with a long, 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 long list. So break
Yeah.
it down. We
And
make long
the
lists.
long list plus the rate at which new information or thoughts or ideas or
Mhm.
whatever is coming in, right? Because it's like
Yeah.
we could have 100 ideas, cool, like peg that. Okay, but 5 minutes later, I'm gonna have 50 more. So
Yeah.
it's this continuum of like new information. No, that's not important. Oh, this is important. Ooh, shiny object, squirrel. Ooh, chocolate, coffee. Yeah,
Yeah.
all of the things, right? Oh my god, that's such a struggle. Ooh, that's a whole other topic. We're gonna talk later about that because that is a great topic to have on my other podcast.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's as we start to wrap this up. This is just rapid fire. This is just random ass questions that I just think it's really fun
Go.
to kind of like
Brain on.
detach for a minute. All right, coffee or tea, and how do you take it?
Coffee, cold brew. I'm a sweet drink boy.
Ooh, love me some cold brew. Have you ever been a hot coffee drinker, or did you jump right into cold brew?
Cold brew got me into coffee because I
Oh,
just
okay.
didn't really. I don't think I love hot beverages. I think I'm sensitive to like really hot. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like every other guy out there too, but I feel like my wife's sensitivity to temperature is just like that's fine, and I'll sip it, and I'm just
Nope.
no cold brew got me into it.
Yes. Well, to be fair, cold brew is way different than regular coffee. It is way
Mhm.
better, way smoother.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, that's kind of my like dessert coffee. Like, if I'm like feeling like I have an extra $6 to go spend, I'll go get cold brew.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay. What? Are you an early bird or a night owl?
I'm I'm a night owl for sure, but I
Yeah.
try to wake up at 5 a.m. for
Yeah.
morning workouts.
Do you
I
feel
don't
like
know.
your brain works better later in the day or earlier
Mhm.
in the day? Later.
Yeah, I think that's an ADHD trait as well, the slow wake up, and I've had to learn how to really give myself a morning,
Yeah.
routine, not so much like priming, which is very shouty, ritualistic. I get a little nervous about that, but, um, breathing, the exercise always leads to a better day if I actually get up, but, like, that's the hardest part,
Yeah.
visualizing getting up.
Yeah. And sometimes I feel like that whole like morning ritual type of thing is more of a, you know, when you say priming, like you're priming your brain, you're not
Mhm.
just like shoving all this information in because like you already have that. Like it doesn't need
Yeah,
more.
yesterday's is still
Yeah.
there.
Yes, yes. Oh, I feel that. I feel that for sure. Okay, before we started recording, I was talking about Ted Lasso.
Mm.
I was talking about drinking. What's your guilty pleasure TV show?
Mm. Oh, I have a few. We watch a lot of Great British Bake Off,
Ooh,
baking show. I
yes.
can't I don't know why the name changed. That's number 1, but oh, shoot, Survivor should be number 1. I'm trying to apply and get on it, so Jeff, if you're watching this,
Oh,
I'm
we'll
trying to
tag
get
him. Let's
on
tag him in the show notes.
Survivor.
Let's do it.
That's next. I couldn't apply to be on Survivor the last time I was thinking about this because I was planning my wedding and my wife said I could not go and I knew they were going to film while I was going to get married. So I was not able to apply. Now I can apply and now I have time.
Oh, that's amazing. That's really cool. That's really cool. I'll take that. That's awesome. Okay, what is your number one go-to productivity hack? Our brains
Mm.
are done, guys. Like we're gonna wrap this up because we can't even talk anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Favorite go-to productivity hack?
Oh, gosh. I'm gonna give you the lowest hanging fruit. Put your phone in another room. You got
Nice.
anything to do, or if you're just like actually trying to like the biggest thing for me is I would get so distracted by
Mm,
everything. And my phone is the number one distraction. That's just one. But distractions in general, if you can clear them from your work environment, you'll notice that that focus is just easier. It costs less energy to do the same work. So,
What I'm hearing and seeing is put it behind you.
ooh, no, out of sight, out of mind. Use object
That's fair.
permanence
That's fair.
to your advantage. What can it
Yes.
do for you?
Yes. Oh my God. No, I love that. Okay. That's all for rapid fire. Okay. So I know that lots of people are going to chime in about the ADHD thing. I know that more people want
Yeah.
to talk about it. They want to hear about it. So for the people who are vibing with this conversation, with you, what you are doing with burnout coaching, where can people find you and what is the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, my most active social media is probably the best way to actually kind of get in reach, and you can even talk to me. But Instagram, and then I also use TikTok, but TikTok's less community based. I don't know. Still follow me there, and both are Discover Your Tempo, DiscoverYourTempo.
I was like, I see him looking up, waiting to mess up. I will make sure we get it spelled right and a link in the show notes so
Mhm.
that everybody has easy access to that. All right, last but
Yeah.
not least, are you looking for any certain type of client right now? Who are
Mhm.
you looking to help?
Yeah, there's really 2 types, and, uh, number 1 being you're sick of your job, but you know you can't quit your job. You gotta figure some shit out before even find the next job, right? So, you're in that position where I can't quit my job, but I need to do something so that this doesn't show up in my next job. That's kind of perfect timing. We can get to work together so that when you show up in your new job, you're equipped to build those boundaries and not lose the life that this current one's taking.
Yeah.
And ADHD specifically, I think there's a really strong lifestyle component that uh, is more light in what's out there, what education is available to people. So I love learning about ADHD. That is something I have a little bit of a hyper focus on, and what I learned about while I was burnt out to be able to take care of my own health. So yeah, if you're struggling with the just trying to keep up with medication, or really haven't found a method that's helping you long term that you don't depend on, like I want to keep my medication as needed and not become as dependent on it. But I knew that it was helpful for work. But so yeah, long-winded answer for that part. But the burnt out professional trying to not repeat this problem in their next job, and the ADHD just trying to keep up with a job that really wasn't designed for you.
Ooh, yes, realizing what you are designed for and that not
Mhm,
everything is designed for you. Ooh, I love
mhm.
that. I love that. All
Applying
right,
your
guys.
life.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of BloxFam Breakthroughs. I will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.